Have you been wondering how to get kids to do schoolwork during the pandemic? I've got some ideas for you. There's a lot of reasons that parents are concerned about this right now, for good reason, because this is an important way that your kids are going to develop life skills. Let's go over 4 strategies that you can apply immediately. Strategy number 1, let's make a distinction between schoolwork and homework. Do you hear the difference? Normally, schoolwork is done at school. And that's why the name for this thing is a dead giveaway, right? Schoolwork and homework. Now, here's the thing. During the pandemic, many of us have been enrolled in what I've affectionately started to call the Involuntary Homeschoolers Association. Now, the IHSA doesn't hold conventions and meetings, but as members of that association, here we are trying to become the teacher as well as the parent. This is familiar to homeschoolers. I was doing the opening keynote at a large homeschooling convention a couple of years ago. And these parents get it because they've been doing this for so long. But for the bulk of us, we don't know how to be a teacher at home. Not necessarily. We've got good ideas and we can be a great teacher for our child. But we've been plunged into this through the pandemic in ways that are kind of unfamiliar to a lot of us. So, welcome to the Involuntary Homeschoolers Association. And let's make a distinction between schoolwork and homework. There are traditions out there in the school system, and different teachers and administrators feel differently about this. Just figure out where you stand on this. Should schoolwork be done at school? Or should schoolwork be done as homework? Or should there be some kind of a balance between the two? Having been through the 21st grade myself, I have learned that there's a difference between elementary school and the tasks and the things that we need to learn in that setting versus a junior high setting, the secondary schools, high school, getting into college. See, there's different levels of difficulty and engagement at each of these levels. So, taking that into consideration as you consider the needs for your child, are we talking about homework, which is more self-directed and to be done in off-school hours, or are we talking about schoolwork, which is staying focused and getting things done within the school time? That's one of the strategies. Let's establish school time during which schoolwork occurs. And whether that's more self-directed or guided by you as the parent, that doesn't matter as much as delineating the time that is supposed to happen. This is really easy if the kids are going off to school because there's an opening bell, there's a closing bell, and everything in between is school time. You can do something similar within your home so that they know every day from this time to that time, school time. And we're doing school work. So some of that structure can help to get kids to actually engage a little bit better because the expectation is there that, well, this is school time. Second strategy, let's get clear about the why. And I mean their why. When we ask why should our kids do schoolwork, we as parents and as teachers, we got 12 or 13 reasons why they should do it, right? It makes total sense to you, the adult, the educated one. Why should they do it? We need to think like kids sometimes and start to engage with, okay, what's going on in their mind that would have them wanting to do this, having a reason to be engaged with it? What is their motivation? And this can be a broad range of things. I love that a lot of parents are helping their kids to have a love of learning. I'll come back to that in just a minute because we can create that kind of a culture in our home. But there are other kids who just don't get it and they're not interested and they don't see it the way that you do. Of course they don't. They're not adults. So we have to structure sometimes the motivation into how we handle other things in the home. So for example, you could have engagement at school tied to availability of video games, for example. Now, I picked video games because that's one of the most popular motivators for kids. Do they want to do school? No, they want to go do their video games. So a link between doing the schoolwork and doing video games, I mean, that's so simple, but it's such an effective way to help kids have a strong why to do it. I would encourage you, if you're going to do a linking like that between a privilege that they enjoy and their engagement in school, stay positive. Stay positive about that. Here's an example of what I mean. You could say, if you don't do your schoolwork, you won't get to play your video games. Do you see how negative that is? How does that feel to you? How's that going to feel to your child? Let's change up the wording. You can say the same thing in a very positive way. If you engage in your schoolwork, you will have access to the video games. Okay, this links with that, and we do it in a positive way. Most of the things that we tell that our children that come out negative can be reworded in a positive way, and that powers it up. It changes the energy. That's one of the tips of positive parenting as well. So there's your second strategy. This next strategy is something that will completely transform your parenting into a much more positive experience for both you and your kids, and that is to detach from the outcomes. Detach from the outcomes. Think about this. You get attached to some particular outcome, like your kids completing an assignment or finishing their schoolwork. Okay, if you're attached to it, psychologically, they don't have to be. Whoever is most attached to the outcomes is going to solve the problem. Think about that. Whoever's most attached to the outcomes is going to solve the problem. Let's make sure it's not you. You're going to detach from the outcomes, which gives your child an opportunity to become attached to the outcomes. Why? Because of the other strategy we already talked about. We're linking some outcome that they desire to their behavior with what it is that you want them to do. Once that's linked up, back off. You are no longer attached to the outcomes. And here's one way you can remind yourself to do this. Hey, either way is okay with me. You can do your schoolwork, or you can wait till tomorrow and try it again. Either way's fine with me. And then flash them a smile, okay? I've found this works best if you're smiling. Raise your eyebrows just a little bit, have a little lilt to your voice, okay? Because that communicates to your child that you are in control. You're not yelling and screaming and out of control and demanding that they do it a certain way because you're so attached to the outcome. You're simply saying, hey, this way, that way, either way is fine with me. And then they have to decide, wait a minute, is this okay with me? And when we've linked up doing what you want them to do with the thing that they want to do, they can do the math and they start realizing, wait a minute, if I don't do my schoolwork, I don't get to have the video games, even though you said it to them in a positive way. When they do their schoolwork, they get to have the video game. However they're thinking about it, they link that up and suddenly they are attached to the outcome. Do you like that? You get to back off and be okay with either way. That's powerful. Try it, practice it. Hey, I was joking a little bit earlier when I mentioned the Involuntary Homeschoolers Association, but why not? Let's form one. Click on that subscribe button and you're in. Now, the final strategy for this particular video is to create an environment, a culture, a home where learning is valued and there's positive energy attached to it. No surprises, this takes a little bit more work than simply doing the default. So you might need to look into ways that you can enhance the learning experience. Bringing in audio-visual materials, having hands-on activities that they can do to learn about something, going on a field trip. These kinds of activities create a higher level of engagement with your kids. And the research shows that this actually facilitates a deeper level of learning. We've been trained, taught, and educated to learn things in a certain way. And if you're like me, you got to grow up in a school environment where the main mode of learning was, okay, kids, sit down, be quiet, listen to the teacher, and do the assignments. And make sure you don't make any mistakes, right? There's some things about that traditional learning style that are just not conducive to children's learning. Pay attention to your kids, and they'll give you some clues as to what's going to be effective for them. What do they pay attention to? What grabs their interest? And then incorporate as many of those things as you can into the learning. We also want to have a family culture where education, not necessarily school, okay? I make a distinction sometimes between school and education. In fact, Mark Twain said you should never let school interfere with your education. And in that sense, let's look at educational opportunities in a more broad way and in a way that is friendly toward our kids, their interests, their learning styles. And as we create that culture within our home, it's much more likely that they are going to engage and be committed to their own learning. There's a lot of strategy and a lot of skills and tips and techniques that we can employ to teach children responsibility. Click on that next up video where we talk about some of the ways to teach children responsibility.